Can you imagine carrying a sack full of $200 billion just for a piece of bread that was worth only 162 years prior? That was the reality in 1920s Germany. In 1923 Germany, a wheelbarrow full of money couldn't buy you a dinner. But the wheelbarrow itself? That was a treasure. There's a famous story. A man left his barrow of cash outside a shop. When he returned, the money was there, but the barrow was gone. When a currency dies, reality itself begins to twist. This is the story of hyperinflation. Savings, hard work, and dreams all turned into worthless scraps of paper in a single afternoon. People didn't count their money anymore. They weighed it. They burned it. They used it as wallpaper. Welcome to the Wealth Archive. Today, we enter a world where money became ashes. To understand this collapse, we must go back to the ruins of a great war and the debt that followed. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles demanded impossible reparations. Germany was a nation crushed by debt. They had no gold. They had no products to sell. But they did have one thing: printing presses. The government decided to solve their problems with the stroke of a key. They started printing money to pay the bills. It was an economic suicide pact. The more they printed, the less each bill was worth. At first, it seemed like a solution, but the math of greed always catches up. In 1923, when France occupied the Ruhr for missed payments, the German government told workers to strike and promised to pay them anyway. To pay millions of striking workers, the presses went into overdrive. The currency began its final death spiral. The mark was no longer money. It was a ticking time bomb. The world watched in horror as the German economy vanished into thin air. Inflation wasn't daily. It was hourly. Prices moved faster than people could walk. A cup of coffee might cost 5,000 marks when you sit down, but 8,000 by the time you finish the cup. Workers were paid twice a day. They would throw bags of cash to their wives through factory windows so they could shop before prices rose again. Store owners began to hide their goods. Paper money was becoming a hot potato that nobody wanted to hold. The function of money as a store of value was dead. Only physical things, meat, coal, leather, had meaning. A lifetime of savings, enough to buy a villa, was now not enough to buy a postage stamp. Millions, billions, trillions. The numbers lost all meaning. People were drowning in a sea of zeros. It was a festival of despair. If your money was going to be worthless tomorrow, you might as well spend it all tonight. The logic of the world had broken. And in this vacuum of value, something dark began to grow. To children, money was just paper blocks. 1,000,000 marks meant nothing when you couldn't even buy a candy with it. It was cheaper to burn money for warmth than to buy coal with it. In 1723, heat was expensive, but the mark was free. People used currency as wallpaper. The glue to stick it on cost more than the value of the paper itself. Eventually, the 100 trillion mark note was born. a number so large it felt like a cosmic joke. Menus had to be updated hourly. To eat out was to race against the printing press. The zeros were everywhere. They grew like a cancer, devouring the labor and the future of an entire nation. When wealth is infinite, it is worth nothing. The dream of paper riches had become a nightmare of trash. The middle class was wiped out. A lifetime of disciplined savings evaporated in months. Civilization regressed. A grand piano for a sack of potatoes. Art and culture were traded for survival.
We have no choice.
In the shadow of ruin, a desperate hedonism rose. If tomorrow meant nothing, then tonight was everything. This chaos left a moral vacuum. People were looking for a savior, and they would soon find one in the darkest corners of politics. While savers starved, speculators thrived. The system punished the honest and rewarded the reckless. Trust, the glue of society, had dissolved. When money fails, everything else follows. Then a miracle happened. A new currency was born, backed not by gold, but by the very land of Germany itself. The Rentenmark. It was a psychological masterstroke. Suddenly, the printing presses stopped, and people chose to believe again. The zeros vanished. Prices stabilized. The chaos ended as quickly as it had begun. The economy was saved, but the soul of the nation was scarred forever. The fear of inflation became a German obsession. They regained their money, but they had lost their faith in democracy and the old world. Today, the zeros are digital. The debt is invisible. But the laws of economics remain unchanged. When governments treat currency as a tool of convenience, they risk the very foundation of civilization. Trust is a thin thread. In the world of the Wealth Archive, we learn from the past to protect our future. Are you holding a currency? Or are you holding value? Think about it before the next fire starts. Subscribe to the Wealth Archive. Secure your future